Hello guys, it's Uche Alex here again and welcome to this course where we'll be looking at the pen tool. The pen tool in Photoshop is also a selection tool that we use to cut out subjects from an image or from their backgrounds. This becomes important because throughout our project or throughout our career as designers, we'll be working with images that require us to cut out subjects from their backgrounds, or we'll be having situations or scenarios where we'll have to copy out a particular element from a design to use in our design. So today I'll be sharing with you a selection tool that we use to copy out elements from or subjects from their backgrounds or from different images. So as I told you earlier, that tool is called the pen tool. Look at it right here. Make sure your workspace is set to essentials so that will be essentials here, so that will be at the same tool setup. So your workspace is set to essentials right now, and right here is the pen tool. So if I double click on this tool, I'll get access to other tools in that category. We have the pen tool, freeform pen tool, curvature pen tool, add anchor point tool, delete anchor point tool, and convert point tool. So all these tools are within the pen tool category. So for now, we'll be working with the pen tool, which is this one at the top here, pen tool. So for us to see how powerful pen tool is, let's try and bring in an image to our artboard. So I go to my download folder and look for the image I want to use. Okay, I have this image of a stabilizer. I want to use this image because I just recently used it in a project I just worked on. So I click on enter to load this image into Photoshop. So right now we have this image into Photoshop and we want to make a design with this image, but then at this point I don't like the background because this is a product image. This is a product design. I don't like this background. I want to take this background out. So at this case, what I have to do is to cut out this stabilizer image. This is an industrial stabilizer. So this is to cut out this stabilizer from the background, its background. So what I have to do at this point is this. I'll simply have to, the pen tool is already selected. Then I come to the top here and make sure that this thing is not in shape, right? So I have to click on this option here and choose path. If it is in shape, once you're using the pen tool, you end up creating shapes, right? So right now I'm creating a shape using the pen tool. Now creating shapes that is neither circle or an irregular shape. Let's call that irregular shape. So I'm currently creating an irregular shape with the pen tool. So that's one of the things we do with pen tools. We can create any shape we like. So these are straight line shapes. Then once I keep clicking and get back to the point where I start, you see that there is a little zero or little circle that appears beside the pen tool, beside my cursor, that has not changed to the pen tool sign. So once I click on it, the selection gets completed. Then I can go and click on the selection tool, which is a shortcut for it is V. Then I can move around my selection, right? So this is a shape, an irregular shape. So I can actually use this shape for my design if I like. But in this case, we are not trying to make a shape. We are trying to make a selection. So let me delete this. Let me click on selection and delete. So to delete that, I hit my selection key, make sure it was selected, and I hit the delete key on my keyboard or backspace. So Now that I have deleted that, let's go back to the selection tool, not selection tool. Let's go back to the pen tool again. So right now we are the pen tool. We'll make sure that we select path. So now we are at path. I click on path. So now we are on path. As I click my mouse, or as I left click my mouse, this time around it doesn't create shapes anymore. Let me show you what it does. It just keeps creating lines or paths of selection for me. Understand? So that's what it does for me now, instead of creating shapes. So let me use Control Z to get back to the beginning. So this is how you use the pen tool to make a selection. Let me zoom into this image. You have to zoom into your image to get the edge of your image. So now that I have zoomed in, let me scroll a bit. Then I'll go to the edge. I'll make sure that I will be getting the edges of the element or the subject I want to crop out, or not crop out. I want to copy out of the background. So I'll go to the edge, make a selection by clicking on my mouse or tapping on your touchpad if you are using a laptop. Then I'll just be targeting my edges. I click on this edge again. Then I take a slide. Let me scroll down. Then I go somewhere at the other edge. I click again. I keep doing that. Then if I go to this edge here to click, that means this wheel goes. Let's try it. If I go to this edge to click, see that this wheel is not selected. I have jumped this wheel. All right, so this wheel is out of our selection. That means when I'm done with this selection, this stabilizer's wheel will be gone. That is what it means. But then it's okay if that is what you actually want to achieve. All right, so okay, let's leave it at that. Let's leave the leg of the stabilizer out and just crop only the body of the stabilizer. So once I've selected a second edge, I go over here as well, click on that edge as well. So I go over to this other edge here, click on it. So I keep targeting the edges. I keep doing that. I keep targeting all the edges of the stabilizer. So I keep going until I come over to the place where I started my selection from, which is this point. So once I click on it, you see that my selection is complete. So this is not yet a selection. Okay, now that I've seen that my selection is complete, if you look closely, you can see the lines that are representing the part of our selection, which is in blue color. So for us to really turn this into selections, you have to hold your control on the keyboard and hit enter key. So control and enter. So if you're using the MacBook, it has to be command and enter. So once I click my control and enter, I turn the blue part into a selection. So if you look now, it has been turned into a selection. A tiny black and white dots that look like they are moving. Yeah, look at the edge of our selection now. It has changed its color from the blue to a selection right now. So what we have to do at this point is to go over to select tab up here. So once you click on select here, you scroll down to select and mask. This is select and mask. Once you click on select and mask, okay, this instantly gives you access to this panel where you have to fine-tune your selection. So the red part actually shows us the background where we are doing away with, and the bright side of this, the stabilizer, you can see how bright the stabilizer is. So that is the part we have selected, and if you look at it, it's okay. If it's not okay with us, we can actually make some adjustments from here by playing around with these tools here. Then, or we can actually play around with these selections here as well to make our edge smooth and stuff like that. But don't worry, we'll look at this as well. But in this case, it's not applicable because our selection is okay. So we won't be touching any of these selections here. But we'll just have to come over to this bottom here, output, go to layer mask. You're telling the output to be on a layer mask to have, you're trying to mask the output. It's easier for us because this is not a non-destructive edit. At this point, when we mask it, we can easily use our brush tool to make adjustments in the future if we wish to. So at this point, just click OK. So once we click OK, if you notice, our background is gone. And right now we have only our selection. So now we have only our selection, right? We'll be able to cut out this stabilizer image from the background. Now the stabilizer image is ready for us to use in our design. You can change its size to whatever that suits your design. All right. So let's try Control Z. Let's undo this. So I used Control Z to get us back to this point. Let's try Control Z one more time. All right. So, before now, I told you to go to the top here, select menu, and click on the Selector Mask for us to get access to the panel where we have to adjust our selections. But then, so in a case where you have already made your selection and you know your selections are okay, you don't have to go through this long process. All you have to do is to first of all convert your pen tool path to a selection. And I've told you how you do that by holding your control and your enter. So I'm holding my control now and I'm hitting enter. So now that I've done that, my pen path has been turned into a selection path. My pen path has been turned into a selection, right? So I have to make sure my layer is highlighted. The layer of this stabilizer is highlighted. So now the layer is highlighted. What I have to do at this point is to come over to the bottom here and see this layer mask icon. This layer mask icon, a square that has a circle, a white square that has a black circle in it. That's the icon there. So I just have to click on it. And once I click on it, instantly a layer mask will be created over that selection and my background gets removed. So now we're able to select this. Now we're able to select this object or the stabilizer from its background. So we can now use it like this for our project. So this is one of the ways one of the most popular ways we can cut subjects or images out of a background. We are able to do this for the stabilizer and it's super easy for us with the stabilizer because the stabilizer has straight edges. All right. So it's easy for us to just keep clicking on the edges of the stabilizers and be getting our part straight. So what if we have a situation where we don't have a straight edge or our subject does not have a straight edge? What do we do at that point? Simple. Let's go back to the point where our selection has a tire. The tires of our selection. Let's go back. So let's zoom in one more time. So at this point, let's click our pen tool. This is where our selection is, right? Yep. So I have to scroll down again to get the other edge of our selection. So I go down to the bottom here and I click. So when I click, before now we went and clicked this edge next, and that automatically removed the wheels of our stabilizer. But then we are not doing that at this point. We click on this edge right before the wheels. So once we have clicked there now, there's another straight edge there. You can always zoom in so that you see whatever you are doing clearly. In fact, I'd advise you to zoom in, because most of the time you might not be able to see everything clearly until you zoom in. You might not be able to see everything clearly until you zoom in. So there is a tiny straight line here. I click on it as well. Now we have the tires of the stabilizer. So how do I get this arc here, or this angle here? How do I create it? Simple. All this while we have been clicking on angles, but this time around we are not going to click once. We are going to double click. Make sure that your pen tool has passed the angle. So when we have gotten to, so this is an angle and this is like this end of the angle. So we can actually get to this point and double click. So once you double click, let me point this out. When you double click, you hold down. Don't remove your hand from your mouse. When you double click, you drag out a bit. When you drag out, you'll be watching at your pen path. The angle of your pen path will change from straight. It will change to a particular angle. Then you keep dragging until you get what you want from the selection. So check this out. I'm double clicking now. Double click and I'm dragging out. And we see our pen path is changing from an absolute straight line to an arc, or you can call that an arc, or maybe a circular path or an angled path, whatever suits you, but then it's now an arc. All right, so it's no longer a straight line. So I leave it at this because this is perfect for the tires. Then I come over to this second place and I double click as well, and I'm holding down to drag again. So as I'm dragging out, I keep watching my selection, my pen tool part, that is the tiny blue line, and I keep seeing how it fits the tires of the stabilizer. When I feel it has fit in nicely, I release my hand from my mouse or from my laptop touchpad. So I release my hand right now and I come over to this edge as well. So I keep doing this. I keep doing this until I get the perfect angle I need. So this is not perfect. I have to Control Z to go back to where I'm coming from. So I click again and I drag out a little bit. So at this point, I've been able to get the angles of the tires, right? So now I have to move away from these angles and continue on my straight path. So once I click on, and you know how we have been doing it with the straight paths, right? You'll be clicking on the straight angles, or you keep clicking on any path on the straight line. So once I click on this straight line, I click here. You notice that as I've clicked on this straight line, my selection path or my pen tool path is not straight. You see that there is a little bit arcing here. It's bent up a little bit. Let me zoom in so you see that. I know you already know how we've been able to zoom in. I'm holding my Control and my plus key on my Windows laptop. So that's how I've been able to zoom in. Let me zoom in again, Control and plus. So, yep. So yeah, this is a clearer view of what we are doing. So you see my part here, but then the pen tool part is not following the straight line anymore. And that is because we are coming from an arc. We are coming from an arc and we are trying to go to a straight line, make a straight line selection from an arc. So that is the problem at this moment. So have to use Control Z to go back again to our selection. So what if we make our selection shorter? Instead of making it this long, we don't go this far. We just choose a point that is a little bit closer. The same problem. You see there is a little bit arc here as well. So how do we solve this? Let's hit Control Z. How do we solve this? Very simple. We solve this problem by holding down our Alt key on the keyboard. All right. So once you hold down your Alt key on the keyboard, if you notice, our cursor has changed. Look again. See, our cursor is it is currently the icon of the pen tool, but once we hit the Alt key, it changes. All right. So once I'm still holding down on my Alt key, I come over to this white circle here. You see, this white circle here determines the direction we move, our pen tool moves. So right now, because we are moving on the straight line before now, and it's pointing toward this angle, and that means it's expecting us to keep moving in a circular path. So what we have to do is to hold down our Alt key. Now our cursor has changed. Then we break this into the angle and the direction of our new path we want to go. So you see it, we holding down to change the direction into to face the side our new selection is actually going towards to. So right now we are facing this angle, right? So I release my hand again from the Alt key, and I click at the edge here, and instantly our pen path has continued. So let me zoom out again to make other selections by holding my Control and minus on my Windows laptop. So I go to a new angle, make another selection. I go straight here, make another selection. Then I come over here as well, keep making a selection, a straight point selection. All right. So if you really want to be super accurate with your selection, you can always zoom in so that you can see everything you're selecting. Then I go over to this angle as well. This is the tire again. I go over to this angle and double click. And once I double click and drag out, you see those two lines are coming out from the both sides of my point. You see what they are doing? They are changing the angle of my pen path. So once I'm satisfied with the angle, I remove my hand from my touchpad on my laptop or my mouse. So I go over to the other edge of the tire. I click. So the angle is, I'm okay with the angle, so I don't have to double click on the point. So I go over to this area. There's an angle here for the tire as well. So what I do is to double click here and I drag out again until I get the angle I want, and I'm satisfied with this. So I'm releasing my hand. So I go over to this edge as well and repeat the same thing. All right. So I'm not really satisfied with this. I use Control Z. At this point, I hold my Alt key, hover on this angle at the top here, and break it out to face this angle. Then I come over to this angle here and double click. You see, that fixed that issue we are having with this selection here. So this is perfect. So I keep clicking now and I keep moving straight. So if you look at our selection here, our pen path here, you see that as I click on the straight line, the pen path maintain the straight line. Okay, so I don't need to hold down on my Alt to adjust anything. So I keep going like that until I get to this other angle again. What I have to do is either I click on this middle and double click here to get the selection, or I go to the end of the angle. This is the end of the angle of the tire, and I click here. Let me use the end instead. I drag out, I keep dragging until I get the selection I want. So as I keep dragging, no, this is way too much out of the tires, so I keep coming back until I get the tire. So I'm okay with this. I stop there. I come over to the bottom as well, the other side of the bottom, make a quick point there. You see how bad it looks. Let me zoom in so that you see it. Okay, this is how bad it is. Let me use Control Z. We are going to fix this right now with by breaking this straight line here. This straight line here, we are breaking it. So how do we do that? By holding the Alt key. As we hold the Alt key, you see that our cursor has changed again, and we change the direction to this part. That's, we always change the direction, or to, when you're breaking the line, always change the direction or point it towards to the angle where you are clicking, towards the direction where you're clicking the next point. So once I click it, I change it, and I have to click at the point where I want to use. So I'm still not satisfied with this. I use Ctrl Z. So what I have to do at this point now is, I guess this line is too long. I have to hold my Control on my keyboard and reduce it. All right. So once it's now reduced, I make my selection again. I make another part. See, that fixed it. So I make another selection here. I drag out. And that is perfect. So our selection is going this way again. All right, it's not following a straight path here right now. So what I have to do is hold my Control on my keyboard. My mouse instantly changes. My cursor instantly changes, sorry. And I click on this line, reduce it a bit. Once I'm reducing it, once you're reducing this line, keep looking around at the tires of the selection on the tires to make sure that you are not moving out of the selection. So once this is okay, I have to do at this point is hold my Alt on my keyboard and change and break this and break the straight line to the angle I want to go to. So I come to this edge here and make another selection. So this is perfect. I make another selection as well. I come over to this edge and make another selection. So see, our selection has returned to straight lines. So let me zoom out so I can get the body of the stabilizer as well. So I go straight to the edge of the stabilizer. So I go in a little bit, I come out again, and I keep going to the edges. So our pen part is back to going to straight edges. So we don't have any circles or angles to travel to. So I click on this edge, and that has instantly completed my path. So I click Ctrl 0 to get my image to full screen. So right now I have to make sure that the layer panel containing the image is selected. So because right now nothing is selected, right? So I click on the layer that is containing the image, and once I click on it, then I can go over to the bottom here and click on the layer mask icon. And once I click on that, my background will be removed. No, that's not what we are supposed to do. Ctrl Z. Remember, we first of all have to turn this to a selection, right? Yep, we first of all have to turn this to a selection. We do that by holding Control and Enter. Remember, Control and Enter, because this is still a pen path. All right, this is just a pen path. All right, it's not yet a selection. So hold our Control and hit Enter. And once we've done that, our path has been converted to a selection. So now our selection is active. We just have to do is to come over to the layer mask icon and hit it. And instantly we have our stabilizer with their tires on this time around. All right. Let's zoom into the tires. You see how neat the selection is. So this is super amazing. This is one of the ways we cut out images or cut out a particular element or subject from their backgrounds for us to use in our designs. So whatever it is, you can cut it out from their backgrounds. So that's that for this course. See you in the next video where we'll be looking at another example but this time around with a human.